But I'll be damned if I'm gonna let some self-righteous lucky turd come in here and treat me and Dante like we're a couple of f***ing porch.
Randal! I'm sorry.
He didn't really just say what I think he said.
What? Porch?
Randal!
What the f*** is wrong with you? I want my money back right now.
So, for anyone listening or watching, I sent to you the scene about, and I'm just gonna bleep this because I don't know how to say it otherwise. I'll just bleep the word monkey. But anyone who's seen Clerks 2 knows the scene that starts by Randal saying that they were treated like a couple of porch boys. And then eventually he says, like, the N-word when they're like, that's a racial slur against black people. He goes, no, it isn't. The N-word is, except he says it. So my question was, like, I have an opinion on this, but I'd like someone else's opinion. Considering a big 5.5-minute scene like that, considering even, like, years and years ago when Quentin Tarantino did Django Unchained, I think it was either Spike Lee or Spike Jonze, who was like, white people shouldn't say the N-word. Like, he really hates that Quentin Tarantino ever puts that in his movies because he's white. Why do you think no one has ever sneezed the idea of canceling Kevin Smith? This was a movie that was like 10 years ago. James Gunn got fired off Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 before he got rehired because of tweet jokes that he made. And everyone, like, just even that scene is like a big opportunity for someone to sink their teeth into and be like, oh yeah, you racist piece of shit. White guy wanting to, why do you think no one's ever thought that? Or I'm guessing you haven't seen a lot of Kevin Smith interviews, but.
No, I haven't. But I think that film came out kind of on the cusp of a big, like, mindset shift that the world is going through. Especially today. I think if that film came out today, that would be shot right down. Especially with social media, I think that would just blow out of proportion and get very, very aggressive. And to what end, who knows? But I do think that it was timing, but it was also Kevin Smith. I mean, he's well respected. And I think if anybody can get away with that, and a lot comes down to timing too. Maybe when it was released, some other films were just taking, or some other, let's say, debatable issues were taking place that just kind of overshadowed it.
I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate and point out that, like, those tweets from James Gunn were around the same time, but it became an issue today. And also, like, Harvey Weinstein was a big producer on Clerks 2, and almost every movie that Kevin Smith has done. Besides Jay and Silent Bob, Strike Back, and of course Clerks 1. But like, if anyone wanted to, like, everyone was like, Meryl Streep must have known that Harvey Weinstein was this. Kevin Smith must have known that Harvey Weinstein was doing all this bullshit. And like, it could have been so easy for them to be like, look, he just goes on and has white people say porch and the N-word and all these other slurs and just la-di-da.
And ignorantly several times.
Yeah, like, I remember Chasing Amy has a character who says, it's played by Jason Lee, and he says all a lesbian needs is to find a good dick. Or get good or something, and they would be cured.
For some odd reason, that rings a bell. I don't know why.
But I say this because in one of his stand-ups or like a Q&A, a woman has a question and she's lesbian and she's like, I love your movies, but I disagree with that. Like, what the heck? And he had to defend that. He's like, well, I obviously don't believe that, and I figured that because it is in the dumbest character who ever says that, it's supposed to come off as like obviously wrong, obviously not true, that no one should believe this. And yet I remember someone in college, my first semester, first week before before our classes start, I had heard it through the door and I made friends with him later, but he was playing Clerks 2, and he had like a thing of like knock and come in or whatever. And apparently an African-American kid came in right before the scene I sent you.
Oh,
like
wow.
right before and didn't
That
see
is timing.
anything else. And he's just like, oh no, this is going to come off wrong. Oh shit. And but then the whole scene happened and the kid left. And I've never seen anyone question why is it okay. And I'll come to my opinion, but I'm wondering your perspective. Like, I've never seen anyone question that scene. Like, they question all a lesbian needs is a good
Yeah.
which, I mean, I would guess both are topics people would take issues with. And as the movie progresses, he literally tries to take it back. He makes a jersey and puts tape on it that says porch for life. And then
Really?
yeah, and then an African American like cop goes, porch. He's like, don't worry, I'm taking it back. But that's the only comment on it. They don't bring it up more.
That's very interesting. I can't even imagine why. I don't know.
So my own, and I really don't want this to like start people saying cancel Kevin Smith, but my only thesis that I can come to that, because I didn't even think of it till like a week ago maybe, when we were definitely going to be talking about it, but I would tell people that Kevin Smith is such a sweet man that whenever he would get excited about someone's question, he would say, yes, bitch. And if it was a woman, you wouldn't care. Like, if I said that, if you said something, I was like, yes, bitch, I'd be like, oh, that doesn't sound right coming from me. It just doesn't. It doesn't sound right for me to say that. But him, he's so pure at heart and such a cuddly, just good man that you're like, wow, that doesn't bother me at all. It's weird. Like,
because you know where it's coming from, that intention. Like, you can feel it. You can feel intention behind the words.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm guessing just from that movie, before even like me knowing about Kevin Smith, is that as soon as Randal says it, every other character has a problem with it. It's not like someone saying like people wanting a men's rights activist group, like men's rights, white rights. That kind of thing. It does.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm putting this in because I think we should be able to say this. As soon as they say it, everyone has a problem, except for like Wanda Sykes' husband. He's like, didn't say it to us, and she immediately hits him. Like, she won't take that. The only other person who's like, maybe it's okay, is like, shut the fuck up. Like, everyone. And then eventually he comes to the realization that she was racist, like his grandmother, Randal's grandmother.
Yeah. I think he kind of approaches it from both sides, and that could be why people's reactions have been, so to speak, kind of toned down, because it was presented in a more balanced way and more like, hey, there's this side of it, but there's this side of it, and like, where do we stand? And as we move forward, this is a weird concept to just kind of contemplate.
Yeah, and it is, like, objectively, it's weird that it continues past that scene where he tries to take it back. But, like, the only person he calls one in that whole movie is a white kid. And, the fact that everyone always has a problem with it. No one gives him a second. And earlier throughout the movie, there's other less hot topics that people are like, you're a fucking idiot, like you're just dumb, so they like establish it, but then no one thinks it's okay, no one's on his side. He's not even arguing that we should be able to call black people like those names. He's like, no, this shouldn't be a bad word anyway.
Yeah.
Like he never argues that the N-word should be absolved of it. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I agree. I know that. But that was just my guess. I wanted to see someone else's perspective, but I went into that assuming you had seen Clerks 2.
Yes, and thank you for the death stare coming through the video chat right now.
I looked right at your camera.
For everybody listening, Brian's got a good death stare.
I gotta look. I gotta look back at the screen recording to see if I do.
I will see Clerks 2. I will, because I have to put that the context around that one scene.
Considering that Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is going around, I think most of the movies are cheaper on iTunes or on like DVD.
I'll check Netflix as well, because ours is different than yours. Right. Of course, because everything up here is different than that.